between 1978 and 1979 in Los Angeles. Cousins Bianchi and Biono, cousins through adoption, killed between them 12 women ranging in ages from 12 to 28. The cousins began a racket of luring in young women with a fake setup of having a modeling gig. They would lure the women in, say they had a modeling gig set up for them, and as soon as they earned their trust, they would basically make them perform as prostitutes. Now, one victim of this racket actually ran into a lawyer and he helped her escape. Another victim followed her lead and got out of town herself. So, the cousins had to find more victims. One such victim had a list of Johns and other seedy characters. Her name was Yolanda. The list was seen as a tool of rivalry for the racket that the cousins had concocted. So they raped and murdered Yolanda and stole the list from her. Now, after this racket, the cousins would drive around luring in prostitutes or just regular teenagers and girls in normal neighborhoods. They would also pose as cops. They had fake badges and whatnot. One of the cousins actually tried to be a cop. He went for the training, he took the exams, and he just wasn't good enough. He failed. So it's very interesting to me that he chose to pretend to be a cop so that women would not only trust him, they would come up to them if they needed help. They did try to kidnap a woman who was related to the actor who played a serial killer in the movie M. They let her go once they realized she was the daughter of an actor because they didn't want the attention drawn to them. Most of the bodies were found in the Los Angeles Hills, which is where they got the name the Hillside Stranglers. Now, this went on for a time until they were finally caught. It was one of the most expensive criminal trials in Los Angeles at the time. One of the cousins actually struck up a relationship with a woman during the course of his trial. And due to her insane infatuation for him, she actually tried to strangle a woman and planned stolen semen that she got from one of the cousins to plant on the woman to make it look like someone else had committed the crimes. And luckily, the woman that she attacked escaped. And the perpetrator served jail time from 1980, I think, until 2003. So, one of the cousins died at age 67 from a heart attack. The other cousin is still serving a life imprisonment. Now, the movie, The Hillside Stranglers, from 2004, is a very seedy, very very violent. There's a lot of nudity on display. It was during a time in the late 1970s, early 1980s, where New York was a very gritty place. It was very sexually free. Lots of people indulged in drugs, in various sex clubs, porno theaters, debauchery, discotheques, and whatnot. So very different from the New York of today. So it was a very different time back then. So, as I said, the women in the movie are degraded. They're tied up, they're bound, they're tortured, they're raped, they're talked down too harshly, they're nude, they're strangled. So the movie definitely doesn't glamorize the murders. From the very first frame, the two cousins are portrayed as scumbags and pathetic, as they should be. I appreciated the movie for not glorifying the murders, for not making the basis for the movie glamorous. It's a very gritty movie. It's hard to watch. A lot of the victims, some are combined, some are given the true facts, they're given different names, or they're given certain facts just to differentiate them a little bit. One victim is a waitress that they were friends with at the diner. In real life, she was a waitress, but I don't believe they knew her. For example, in the film, they go to a lot of strip clubs and whatnot and seedy places in Los Angeles, indulging in drugs, booze, and sex. The performances are really good. I actually really respect the women for taking on such difficult roles. I really enjoyed Allison Lane's performance as one of the cousins' girlfriends with child. She goes through abuse in the movie while she's heavily pregnant. It's hard to watch, knowing that her boyfriend is a serial killer and she's not really none the wiser. There's also a nice cameo by Lynn Shay. She is one of the cousins' mother. She gives a very electric, dysfunctional performance. And the seedy underground of LA is on display in a really kind of eerie way with the atmosphere and the music. Despite the nature of, having a good time at the discotheque, hooking up with women, indulging in drugs, it still comes off as really sleazy and creepy. And that really sums up the movie. It's sleazy and it's creepy. There's not a lot of humor in this movie, as I don't think there should be. It's a movie about serial killers. There's very few dark comedy jokes in the movie when the cousins are at a funeral for a relative and the dinner table scene with Lynn Shay. So overall, it's hard to say I enjoy the performances, but as I said, the performances of the young women in the movie really stood out to me. You really believe they're being taken in, kidnapped, sexually assaulted and murdered. It's very convincing. It's hard to watch for me. There are other versions of the Hillside Strangler movies. There's one from 1989 It was a TV movie of the week. It focused more on the aftermath of the murders, or the duo kidnapping the women. It focused on one of the detectives who was tracking them down and how it affects his personal family life and his psyche. It's a good movie. It was made in 1989. Stars Billy Zane. It's on Prime right now. There's also Rampage, the Hillside Strangler. It doesn't really have good reviews. I've never actually seen it, so I can't really comment. But the movie I'm discussing is from 2004. So, in the end, as I said, or maybe I didn't say it, one of the cousins died of a heart attack. The other cousin is still serving life in prison. So that's it for now. I tried to do this from memory, so I apologize for some gaps while I'm talking. I'll be sure to add a link for you to read more about the crimes in case I missed anything. So that is it for now. If you have any suggestions, let me know. I just happen to have this movie on DVD from the dollar store, so this was a request video. So I hope you enjoyed it. And that's it for now. Catch you on the flip side.